8 men rode into canyon. I dug 7 graves. Horse says you are a spirit walker. A man who has been to the other side and returned. A man who cannot be killed in battle.
So Ben, question for you. Pop quiz, hotshot.
Alright.
Right.
Shoot.
You go into a film and it opens in 1933 San Francisco Carnival with the popular Geordie tune Blade and Races playing.
Popular Geordie tune.
What film are you watching?
I have no idea. I presume it's The Lone Ranger because that's what we're here to review. But
Yeah.
I would never have guessed.
I have seen some films that have some major twists in my time, and nothing has discharged me from the moment seeing the Lone Ranger title screen appear, and then being in 1933 San Francisco listening to popular Geordie tune Blade and Races.
Now, I haven't seen this movie, but I'm hazarding a guess that the film is told by Tonto as
Yes.
an aging an aging Indian chieftain or whatever who goes around. Well, he goes around as a carnival as an Indian chieftain telling stories.
Yes, but it's unclear as to whether he's actually there, because at first he's just like standing still, like as if he's a statue, and then at the end of the film he pisses off into the like backdrop as if he was never there at all. So it's unclear as to whether he is there and telling the story, or if it's all within the little kid's imagination.
All right.
There's no getting away from this. These scenes crop up every sort of couple of chapters, and he fills you in on, it's a clever way of storytelling apparently. Those bits are utter bollocks. And there's like, even though I'm going to go on and say that I enjoyed this film, every time these bits came on, I visibly sighed and just wanted them to get through it, because if there's one thing I don't want, it's like a fucking narrator who's jumping in and cutting off from the actual action, talking to a fucking kid.
Which has nothing to do with anything.
No.
So, I mean, this film's called The Lone Ranger. Now, Armie Hammer's playing, was it John Reed, the Lone Ranger? But from what I've heard, this film should be called Tonto and His Stupid White Friend.
I wouldn't disagree with that, because a lot of the start of the film is John Reed focused.
It's about him becoming the Lone Ranger, isn't it? It's like an origin story.
The origin story is actually the best bit of the film, and normally the origin story is boring to me, but maybe it's because I don't know the story of the Lone Ranger, but it's actually a really solid western, the first half of the film.
I'm kind of surprised to hear that, not so much because, not because this film's been getting a lot of bad press over in America. It's taken a long time to come out over here, in fact, compared to America, but it's been getting terrible press. I mean, its current Metascore on Metacritic is like 37 out of 100.
I think that is unfair. There's a lot of this film that's bollocks, but even when it's bollocks, it's fun, apart from when it's really bollocks.
But, I mean, not only like the fact that you said you quite enjoyed this film, to a point at least, but the fact that this film has been in production for a long time and it's gone through so many reshoots. I mean, there was a point where this film was actually going to be a werewolf movie.
Yeah, I know, and that. I didn't realise they'd moved away from that, because the whole point of Pirates of the Caribbean, which is basically, this is the fifth Pirates of the Caribbean, like the whole production team and writers and everything made this instead.
It's them trying to recreate the success of Pirates now that that's starting to go into the sunset.
Yeah, exactly. And I assumed, because one of the successes of Pirates of the Caribbean is taking a well-loved sort of concept like pirates and throwing in some mystical shit and zombies and sea creatures, like making a fantasy based around pirates. I thought they were going to do that for the Western. I think it could have worked really well, because you've got like Native American mysticism.
Yeah, well, isn't there a bit about the Wendigo and stuff in here?
Yeah, but it's all written off as Tonto being like insane.
All right. Well, I bet you at one point there probably was some Wendigos in here, but
yeah, probably. But like, I think there is too much focus on Tonto, because I mean, call me racist, but I didn't think he's that much of an interesting character. Well, especially because his like whole backstory is so bog standard. It's like he's on a just standard revenge quest, but he thinks that Wandangos are the men, they possess the men that committed this atrocity.
That's right. Their skin changes, or
yeah.
The thing is, though, this the reason Tonto is the main, pretty much is the main character in this, from what I've heard at least, is because it's Johnny Depp. Let's face it.
Yeah,
that's the only reason.
It's, to be fair to Johnny Depp, it's one of his roles that I've preferred him in recent times.
Really?
Maybe it's because he doesn't talk very much, but he's quite fun. Like he's so blunt which I quite like. There's no like flamboyance or stupid jumping around, which I associate with Johnny Depp these days, like really extravagant characters. Apart from his headdress, Tonto is so blunt and like uses as few words as possible for everything he's trying to say.
Oh, fair enough. The thing is, though, here's a thing. You give me a question, here's another question, right? Johnny Depp's apparently something like 1/8 Native American.
Yes.
Which I think's bullshit, right? He's
Yes.
white, for fuck's sake, right? Do you not think that there would have been a shit ton more outrage if he'd played a black man instead of a Native American? If, he's white, so he can go ahead and just play a Native American, but if he was the black, put on blackface, do you not think that would cause a way more greater fuss?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
It's double standards, this, isn't it?
It's such a double standard. It's kind of racist as well.
Yeah.
They get a raw deal, the Native Americans.
I think the more obscene thing is Helena Bonham Carter coming in playing an American whore with one leg, because she's none of those things.
No, she's neither American nor a whore, I presume.
And I think she's got 2 legs, so...
She has in everything else, so unless she's a real hardcore method actor.
She might be. But if we jump to Armie Hammer, right, he was fucking awesome.
Was he really?
Yeah, he was really good. He was fun. He was a likable lead. He had a strong jaw. He was the Lone Ranger, which is a shame because this film's gone down the toilet. So I guess we're not going to see a sequel, and it might destroy his career overall. But it's a similar Henry Cavill situation. Like Henry Cavill was a much better Superman than the film deserved.
Yeah, and with this, we are seeing another Superman because let's face it, Superman is a very popular kind of pop culture icon, whereas the Lone Ranger is a bit of a lost icon, really. He's kind of like... I know the Lone Ranger because my granddad used to tell me about him.
Yeah.
And now, Jesus, which, I only know him from, him telling me. I don't remember ever watching the TV show or anything like that. And it's kind of a forgotten relic, whereas, Superman is very current still. And also, I don't think Man of Steel cost anywhere near the budget
which
for
is
this
ridiculous.
film. I mean, Jesus Christ, the budget for this film was something like, including marketing, $250,000.
I think it was more, if you include the marketing, I think it was a lot more.
No, sorry, not $250,000. Jesus Christ, sorry, $250 million.
There, I knew what you meant. $250 million.
Yeah, it's $250 million. Some crazy, crazy figure.
So I don't think we're not going to see a sequel, probably, and it's a shame.
Probably not. But...
Well, not from the standpoint of the film. It's not a shame we're not getting a Lone Ranger 2. It's that we're not getting more Armie Hammer.
Yeah.
Because he was good, and he's definitely someone I'm going to keep my eye out for. He was good enough for me to think, oh, let's get Armie Hammer in. I'll give it a go.
He's had a bad rap, man. First Facebook gets stolen away from him. Now he might not get.
He was good in Social Network.
Yeah, he was.
He's unrecognizable in this, though.
Well, because of the mask.
Yeah, he never take off the mask. Going back to what you were saying about your granddad telling you about the Lone Ranger, I've got a feeling that that's what they were trying to accomplish with the Tonto telling the story to the kid. Because a lot of kids have only been introduced to the Lone Ranger through stories rather than visual media. And to be honest, they should have moved away from that aspect of it. They should have made him seem cooler. Let's not have an old man telling this story. Let's make it current and slick.
Yeah. I think
and
the
then
thing
the other
is,
half
though,
of it is...
as I said before, they got Johnny Depp in, they wanted the money's worth. They know he was going to be the big pull. Lone Ranger himself isn't a big thing anymore, so maybe getting Johnny Depp as a poster boy for this movie would start pulling the crowds in a bit more. Yeah. But from what I've heard, is it kind of, because of Johnny Depp's almost dominance of this, it kind of pulls away from the Lone Ranger and Armie Hammer's story and dilutes it somewhat.
That's why I quite like the first half, because it's definitely more Lone Ranger focused. But when you get in the second half and they get into the depths of the story, like the guy that killed John Reed's brother at the start of the film, he's the one that massacred Tonto's village and has sent Tonto on this revenge thing for the rest of his life. So,
and is that William Finchner?
Yeah.
And Tom Wilkinson's in this as well.
Right. Can I just say, this is the worst piece of casting ever. If you want to make a twist where a good guy turns out to be a bad guy, don't have Tom Wilkinson play him.
No,
as soon as he walked on screen and he was creepy, I was like, oh, so you're the mayor, and you're a dick, right? You're going to turn on them in the end. It's like, oh, lo and behold, he's William Finch's brother.
Spoiler alert. I don't think it's going to...
It's not a spoiler. If you know anything about Tom Wilkinson, if you know nothing about him, you know when you're watching Hot Fuzz and the first line that Timothy Dalton says, you're like, you're the bad guy.
Yeah, it's like blatantly obvious. It's so
Yeah.
signposted. It's almost like it's so signposted. At first, you think, well, he's so signposted he can't be a bad guy, but he's so much a bad guy that it comes all full circle around. And no, he actually is the villain.
Except in Hot Fuzz, they do it as misdirection because you think, oh, he can't be, and then they bring you back around, and it's like, oh, he can't be because he was over there when this murder was happening. In this, it's just sloppy. It was like his first introduction is John Reed's brother. His wife is waiting for the train to get in, and Tom Wilkinson just saunters over, and he's been really pervy with her, and he's like she's looking at a scarf in his shop, and he's like, "That's a beautiful scarf. It matches your eyes." And she's like, I can't afford it though. My husband's just a lawman." He's like, "Well, you know, if your husband was a mayor, then maybe you could afford a scarf like this." And then he just buys her it and like ties it on her neck for her, then just walks off. And I'm like, "You creepy fucker." That was like the first bad guy in the film.
I think the only film I haven't seen Tom Wilkinson be a villain in, it was the Full Monty.
Yeah,
and I would have loved to see him portray them on that.
I'd love that.
Oh man! But you talk about actually the wife. Now that's Rebecca Reed, isn't it? Played by Ruth Wilson of Luther fame.
And I've only just started watching Luther.
Oh,
I watched
so good.
She's there's something about her. I just want to fuck her. Like,
yeah, she's crazy, man.
She's so evil. You just know you're in for a wild ride.
Yeah. The crazy chicks are always the best.
Which is good because in this she doesn't play crazy chick at all. She actually proves she's a good actress, and she plays like this really strong but like homely, like Western cowboy wife.
Oh, cool. I was going to say I do like her. I've only really ever seen her in Luther, although I do believe she was also in Anna Karenina last year.
She was. She's really well received, and I'd like to see more of her as well.
Well, Luther does very well in the States.
Yeah.
Because obviously Idris Elba's got a foot on both sides of the of the Atlantic.
And so I'm hoping that she's, maybe that's why they hired her, because they do like Luther. But she was excellent, and her chemistry with Armie was really good, because obviously she's married to Armie's brother. Mm-hmm. But she's it's established that she's always been in love with Armie's character.
Well, he's a Lone Ranger.
Yeah. No, like he starts the film and he's
he's a ranger, isn't he?
Oh, no, he's a lawyer.
Oh, is he a lawyer? Is he?
Yeah, he's like a book guy.
All right, okay.
He goes back home. He gets deputized for one mission, and then everyone else gets massacred, including him. And then Spirit Horse revives him.
Spirit Horse.
Like that's why the Spirit Horse is like he's a crazy horse. Like it's established as well that Johnny Depp was waiting for the Spirit Horse to revive a ranger to lead him on his quest.
All right, okay.
And the Spirit Horse keeps trying to wake up Armie Hammer, and Johnny Depp's like, no, wrong brother. And he goes up and he's like trying to get to James Badgedale, who plays Tom Reed, is it? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
But the horse is like, nah, it's not him.
It's Dan Reed.
Dan Reed. And the horse is like, no, it's not Dan, it's definitely John. And he's like, no, it's not John, he only reads books. So she's been in love with this guy, and then he comes back into her life, her husband gets murdered, and then she gets kidnapped all within one day. Pretty rough for her.
It's a bad day, it sounds like a bad day.
But there's a great chemistry between them. And when remember when we see G.I. Joe, and we give it a bad rap for being...
for everything?
Yeah, but we said that they really tried, and that it was a perfect recreation of a Saturday morning cartoon.
Yeah.
You've got to say the same thing about this, like the last act of this film.
Yeah.
So to say the first act is really solid Western, second act's a bit weak, focused on Tonto too much, but then the third act is one long action scene involving like two trains running like down the tracks out of control. And it's just pure Saturday morning cartoon. And like, it's almost classic Spielberg where the fight is just continuous, like, so we'll have them fighting on the top of this car, and then this tree will collapse, and there'll be a bridge to the next car, and it's just like one flowing set piece for like half an hour, and all the main characters are involved, including Ruth Wilson. It's class.
Well, Gore Verbinski is the guy who directed this, and obviously he's famed for doing Pirates of the Caribbean movies. In fact, did he do them all?
Yeah, I think so.
Pretty much. No, sorry, he didn't do the last one.
Oh, did he not?
No. I'm not sure who did, but...
He was working on this at the time?
No, he did Rango.
Oh, right.
Was it was a very strange animated film, also a Western, with Johnny Depp as Rango. I liked Rango, I thought it was really cool.
I still haven't seen it.
It's worth a watch. It's a pretty good Western, actually, and its art style is very kind of obscure, almost Tim Burton-esque.
Yeah.
But not quite as gothic. But yeah, it's really good. So he's kind of gone from one western to another with Johnny Depp as the lead.
Yes.
So yeah, so like as I say, I've not heard pretty much any good things about this. I think yours is probably the most positive
Yeah.
positive
Well, I'm
review.
just trying to be fair. Look, it wasn't a great film, but I had fun. So I had more fun, and the film quality is better than G.I. Joe.
No,
Yeah.
no, man,
film, it's more fun.
it's not more fun than G.I. Joe. We had so much fun talking about G.I. Joe.
Yeah, no, we had so much fun talking about G.I. Joe.
Not watching it though.
Oh. I was just trying to be fair with it because I enjoyed this more than any Pirates of the Caribbean film as well.
I can probably see that though.
Yeah, so that's the sort of level that it's at, and I don't think it's fair to say that it's such an awful film when to me it's on the same level as the other Pirates of the Caribbean because they're not great films either, really.
No, I think the first one's good, but it's got its charms. But the others are kind of they're all right, a bit overdone. I think that the thing with the first one is they had a decent story and it was kind of something new, and then it became the Johnny Depp show.
Yeah,
and
the biggest problem with this film as well.
Yeah, so maybe and maybe it's backfired finally on them because this has not made very much money at all.
Is he going to be one of those actors that costs to have you in a film these days?
Possibly, maybe he's going to get the Eddie Murphy.
Getting sick of him, yeah.
Eddie Murphy effect. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think Disney have struck lightning a few times with him, and then have maybe gone in guns blazing with this one. I still think Johnny Depp can be bankable in the right film. To be honest, who would have made this film bankable? Jesus Christ, man! It's like
it's a script issue more than anything.
That's it. It was rewritten, reshot, redone so many times. And let's face it, they spent 250 fucking million plus on a guy on a horse.
Yeah.
How do you do that, man? Avatar.
I have no idea.
Like Avatar probably didn't even cost that much, or if it did, you can kind of understand why.
I want to say that the special effects on this are no better than the special effects on, like, the second Mask of Zorro film, which also has a horse running along the top of a train. It was just the same as that, so I don't know. I really don't know how it cost so much money.
Yeah, it's crazy,
especially since I know that Johnny Depp and Armie Hammer both took pay cuts to make the film.
Jesus Christ.
I think they volunteered 30% of their pay.
Wow.
Which for Johnny Depp, I'm guessing that's substantial.
It's more than I'm worth as a person.
Yeah. That's 30%.
Yeah. It'll be crazy.
Guessing that 30% is more than Armie Hammer's 70% as well.
Well, would you be surprised? I mean, Jesus
Nah.
Christ. What's Armie Hammer ever really done except get ripped off by fucking, who's the guy who makes Facebook? That felt so flat. Zuckerberg. Yeah, he's only ever been ripped off by Zuckerberg. And, well, no, to be fair, he also did row in the Olympics as the Winklevoss twins and didn't win, so.
Yes. Never mind.
He's had a rough time. And this seems maybe like another rough one. So, all right, okay, what would you give this as a rating?
Right. I am trying to be more fair than all the other reviewers out there because I did have fun with it. But it's too long. It's 2.5 hours long.
That's another thing. Jesus Christ. I mean, is there actually enough story to fill in that 2.5 hours?
No, because I reckon over half an hour of it is these cut scenes with the story getting told to the kid.
Jesus, half an hour worth.
I reckon so, because the first one's like it's over 10 minutes long, the first clip.
God damn.
And then it happens like every sort of 25 minutes. It gets annoying rather than just how long and boring it is.
Yeah, that
it's like,
sounds awful.
sometimes it's right in the middle of the action. I think the first time you have the story bit first, and then you get 3 minutes of action, and then in the middle of a gunfight, it cuts back to the story, and they're like, whoa. It's like almost the start of The Princess Bride, except it's not done with any skill or love.
Yeah, it's not funny, basically.
Yeah, so if they got rid of all of that, even if they kept the Tonto-heavy side of the main story, I think it'd be like a lot of people would have responded to it a lot better.
Yeah,
I think that's the biggest flaw with it. But more Armie Hammer would have made it good as well. So I'm going to give this B-.
That's not as bad as I thought. Actually, I thought this was going to get like a low C type of deal, but
No.
B- sounds alright if you had
I've
fun with
been
it.
dancing around a B- C+ all week, and to be honest, if this didn't have the bollocksy story bits that I've been talking about in, this could have been an A. Well, we do this all the time when we say what could have been better.
Yeah.
And this film is a lot of things, but I had fun, so.
Oh, that's fine then.
B-.
So B- for the Lone Ranger.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to see it wasn't hi-ho bullshit away.
You've been
I've been saving that one for so long.
you were gutted that we couldn't use that.
I was so good at I had to slip it in there somewhere.